Now, as we just discussed with Senator Rand Paul, there was a very important panel discussion on COVID-19 with world-renowned doctors, medical experts, frontline nurses, all yesterday in D.C. that was sponsored and put on by Senator Ron Johnson. And oh, by the way, One America News was the only news organization that didn't silence those voices. In fact, we aired it in its entirety, 5 hours. Joining me in just a second, Dr. Peter McCullough, who not only spoke at that panel, but he was also at the Defeat the Mandates big turnout in D.C. over the weekend. Now, Dr. McCullough spoke about all kinds of things, from the efficacy of the vaccine to the COVID pandemic and hysteria. One of his emotional pleas during this testimony, if you will, was on myocarditis, which you've heard him speak about on this show. Watch.
But there is a disease category upon which the FDA, the CDC, and all stakeholders agree that the vaccines cause, and that's myocarditis or heart inflammation. And I will tell you, as a cardiologist, it is crystal clear that these vaccines cause myocarditis.
Here now with more, Dr. Peter McCullough. Doctor, first question for you is, I listened to that panel yesterday. I heard these amazing doctors, scientists, virologists, frontline workers tell me things that we don't hear on the mainstream media, that either the mainstream media, certain Democrat leaders and doctors like Fauci either dismiss as a false narrative, as a conspiracy theory, or they won't even discuss it. Now, my big question is, why are they doing that?
Dan, you know, this weekend was historic. On Sunday was a march from the Washington Monument all the way to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And I addressed the crowd there and told them really the destiny is in their hands in terms of their medical freedoms linked to their social and economic freedoms. It was a very charged set of presentations, doctors, and then there were firefighters, nurses, various religious groups. It really was extraordinary. We moved into a 5-hour continuous Senate panel hearing led by Senator Ron Johnson. I co-chaired the panel. We had over 24 doctors, scientists, nurses, attorneys, patients. It was clear, Dan, that COVID-19 has always been a treatable illness, and now it's abundantly clear the vaccines have lost any hope of controlling the pandemic. The vaccines are failing, and in fact, we are seeing the dangers of the vaccines firsthand. Myocarditis I brought up just as one that it's all agreed upon, that they, especially boys far more than girls, actually develop myocarditis, and a single case is too many.
Why are they not publicizing that more, though? Like, all you see is now from the liberal media and these Democrats in charge, whether at the state level or federal, pushing the vaccine. They want to push it all the way down to 5-year-olds. Everybody better get it. California is considering now allowing 12-year-old and ups to make their own decision and get the vaccine. It's probably going to pass. Why is that big push out there when there's experts like you and now dozens of others, like you just said, even folks probably within the CDC, right, and FDA, who agree myocarditis is a major issue for young people, yet they're pushing it. And we're seeing some of our troops having side effects and dropping after they get the shot. How can we allow this to happen?
You know, I just finished a consultation with a military cadet, and he's in that peak age range of age 18 to 24, where the risks of myocarditis are far higher than the CDC ever estimated. And his mom was on the line too. And this is a point in time where simply the academies are wrong. The major branches of the military are wrong. You know, all 5 branches of the military are being sued over this right now. This is in the open. This is wide open at this point in time. The mandates should all be dropped across the board. The vaccine should be pulled off the market for a deep safety review.
I was just talking earlier with the senator. I pointed out OSHA just announced they pulled the mandate because of the Supreme Court's ruling. They're not going to be out trying to inspect and enforce and fine businesses that aren't requiring the vaccine anymore. So I don't get it. OSHA pulled back. The Supreme Court has ruled. All this evidence is out there. Yet there's still this massive push to make every American from 5 and up get this questionable vaccine that we know has only really been good. And let's be real, Doc, you've been on before, and I think you've kind of reiterated this with me. It's been helpful for certain age groups, for certain folks with comorbidities where the risks outweigh the risks of the vax, and maybe they should still take it. But for the majority of healthy Americans, like under 65, under 50 for sure, there's not enough data to prove that I want to take that risk, that I may get myocarditis or some other side effect, versus I've already had COVID. I have natural
Well,
antibodies.
Dan, I published a paper with Jessica Rose in Current Problems of Cardiology, and the risk of myocarditis in men extends all the way up to age 50. So you're still in the risk group where that could
47.
happen. And I have those those patients in my practice. And I can tell you at this point in time, there are no supportive studies, no randomized data at all suggesting the vaccines protect against Omicron. Omicron is so mild as a syndrome. It's like a mild cold in the COVID recovered and in the previously vaccinated. It may be a bit more of a cold and a viral syndrome in those who are completely unvaccinated, but the hospitals are not overwhelmed. Early treatment can manage this very easily. At this point in time, the vaccines are completely unnecessary in the public health response. And I think, Starbucks recently dropped their mandates across the board.
Right.
I think you're going to see
So did
more and
GE.
more companies do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some companies you might think are run by liberals and woke folk have actually dropped them. Then you got companies like Carhartt, who has always catered to the working class, and they're pushing it hardcore, their CEO. It just makes no damn sense to me. Doc, we'll wrap it up with this. Obviously, early treatment of therapeutics and the monoclonal antibodies, those types of treatments work. You should look at that. Right when you get it, don't think about the vax. Think about early treatment and therapeutics, right?
Dan, I agree, especially those over 65, still susceptible, who have baseline medical problems. Remember, the monoclonal antibody to ask for is the GlaxoSmithKline sotrovimab. That's the one that has efficacy. And now the pharmacies are stocked with the new Pfizer and Merck drugs. We got notice of that in Dallas. So I can tell you, doctors have plenty of tools to use to treat COVID-19. Vaccines aren't necessary. They're not sufficiently safe nor or effective. They should be pulled from the market.
I'll end with this. Thank you. Thank those dozens of folks that came out. Senator Ron Johnson for putting that on. Thank the tens of thousands that came out for the rally over the weekend to make America's voices heard, that we actually want a choice in our medical decisions. And Doc, just thank you for what you do always out there, speaking truth. And I'll end with the name of the panel yesterday. Folks, get a second opinion. If a doctor says, go to the hospital, get the vaccine, that's all the choices they give you, listen to Dr. McCullough. Get a second opinion, okay? That's what the panel was about. Dr. Peter McCullough, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.